Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Randall, and joining me today are Kim Tompkinson and Lisa Kidder. We are all from the ITRC, and today we are going to have our Wednesday webinar on this one is part of our Poly Matters 7th edition series, and this is on General Standard 2, which is all about learning objectives. Here's a quick overview of what we'll be doing today. First, we're going to contextualize the QM rubric in case you don't know what it offers. We'll then move on to describing General Standard 2's specific review standards. And after that, we'll have time for question and answer. You're, of course, welcome to put any questions that you have throughout into the Zoom chat, but we'll go ahead and actually address them in a batch at the end. Okay, so the purpose of the QM rubric. Who is it for? It is targeted primarily at faculty, course designers, and course developers. And it serves as a comprehensive guide for professionals who are involved in the planning, design, and implementation of online and hybrid courses. So what is it for exactly? It's designed to provide a structured framework, placing emphasis on the importance of course design for creating high-quality online and hybrid courses. It aims to ensure that the courses meet the QM-specific review standards, which are research-supported and best practice-based guidelines for effective online education. And then, if you're also curious about how you would be able to apply it to your course, it is aimed to improve the student experience, increase student and instructor presence, and to help you review the alignment between the course content, assignments, and assessments. Doing so can significantly enhance the student experience by ensuring that the course is well designed and easy to navigate. It also fosters increased presence for both students and instructors through these interactive and engaging course elements. And the rubric helps in reviewing and ensuring that alignment between your course content, your assignments, and assessments, which helps make sure that you have a cohesive and effective learning environment overall. So now that we know a little bit more about the overall purpose of the QM rubric for us here at ISU, Kim is going to let us know more about specific review standard 1 and 2. Sorry, 2.1 and 2.2.
Thanks, Ryan. So when we're talking about standard 2.1, the key idea here is measurable. So we want course learning objectives and module learning objectives that can describe outcomes for students that we can measure. And they should also clearly and precisely describe what learners will be able to do. So things that we can observe in learners. If we use specific terms that can be measured and that can be observed, it'll be much easier for us to assess if students have reached that level of mastery. And maybe one of the most critical elements is that it sets the basis for alignment in the course. I often think of our learning objectives as our North Star. And so when we're always looking back at what our intentions are, we look to our North Star for guidance, for direction. And it also helps to make the course meaningful for students to help them know what's expected of them. If we have taken the time to really think about our learning objectives and to write them in a way that they can be measured. And for standard 2.2, these are all about the module level learning objectives, but the same principles apply, that they need to be measurable and they should be consistent or be aligned with our learning objectives that are at the course level. And they'll also describe what learners should be able to do, but they're going to be more specific than course level objectives because we're going to put them into smaller, more discrete pieces. And if we place them at regular intervals throughout the course, then we can tell how our students are progressing throughout the course instead of just one big exam at the end or one big culminating check at the end. And again, I don't think we can reiterate enough that alignment is critical when we're talking about learning objectives. So we want to make sure that module level objectives and course level objectives are related to one another and that we can clearly see that alignment and that we can explain that to our students. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan, and he's going to talk a little bit about standards 2.3 and 2.4.
Great. Thanks, Kim. So both standard 2.3 and 2.4 focus on whether measurability and alignment has been clearly communicated to your students. Each of these break down the ways to communicate measurability and alignment to your students in smaller, discrete ways to help you check them in advance. So standard 2.3 reads that learning objectives are clearly stated, are learner-centered, and are prominently located in the course. As you probably can tell, that "and" signals that in order to meet standard 2.3, learning objectives must have all three of these attributes. So, what do each of these mean in detail? To craft a clearly stated learning objective, you'll want to minimize educational or disciplinary jargon, such as minimizing any unnecessarily complex language. And to write a learner-centered objective, you'll want to describe what a learner will be able to do either during or after the course. An example that's not learner-centered would be something that prioritizes course content, such as, quote, "This course introduces students to a range of genres that they can use in varied rhetorical situations." And as far as locating objectives prominently in the course, you want to make sure to include them at points of the course in the learning management system where students are most likely to perceive them. So for course level objectives, you might have them in the course introduction, in the syllabus, or perhaps even in both. This is one place where repetition is very beneficial. For the more granular module or week level objectives, you can communicate them within each module. This not only makes them more prominent to the learner as they progress through the course, that repetition will also help learners contextualize the new content or skills and slowly develop an emerging mental model of how the course elements connect. For standard 2.4, again, as with standard 2.3, the emphasis is on clarifying the relationship between elements of the course so that students can readily perceive what you've designed. So standard 2.4 reads, "The relationship between learning objectives, learning activities, and assessments is made clear." Clarifying this relationship of how learning activities and assessments connect to learning objectives will help students not end up accidentally feeling like the elements of the course are arbitrary or purposeless. So the more explicitly you can connect those course elements, the more your learners will understand the big picture of the course. And there are many possible strategies for clarifying these relationships for your students. For instance, some possible strategies could include having a document, a diagram, a video, things like that. You could have a course map. You could have an introductory page for each module of your course. You could have a numbering system. For instance, this spoken assignment meets course outcome 2. You might want to explain what course outcome 2 is as well, in more words. And of course, you could have a blend of the above. Again, this is a place where repetition can be beneficial. So you might have that numbering system that I just mentioned to help show that a specific module's 3 outcomes are components of a larger course level outcome. And then you could also reference that same numbering system in your syllabus, as well as an introductory page or learning guide for each module. You want your students to readily perceive the architecture of your course, so don't be shy about reinforcing all of the connections that you've already carefully crafted. So up next, Lisa is going to tell us more about standard 2.5.
Thank you, Ryan. Standard 2.5 is the last of the general standard 2, and it focuses on learning objectives that are suited to and reflect the level of the course. Notice again that there's 2 components here. So suited to the course means that these are objectives that make sense for your specific content, for your discipline. Math 1101 is going to look very different from Math 3301. reflecting the level of the course is also something. If I look a list of objectives, I should be able to discern if this is an entry-level course or maybe a midpoint in the program or maybe an upper-level course. So what does this really look like? So here's a couple of guidelines to help you look at your course and make an assessment if your course or your objectives in this case meet standard 2.5. Generally speaking, and again, this is generally speaking, your undergraduate courses generally tend to have more lower level objectives. Your graduate courses tend to have more higher level objectives. This makes sense in terms of their learning. This does not mean that your undergraduate courses cannot have higher or deeper level objectives. It just means that there's more scaffolding put in place. Your graduate courses could also have some lower level, like if it's the first introduction course to a graduate program, your first courses do tend to be more in that lower kind of cursory level objectives. But there's generally less scaffolding as the students are expected to get up to the higher, deeper levels of learning. So this is one way to look at your course through the lens of 2.5. But there's another way to look at it, and that's in relation to the course level versus the module level objectives. So this is bringing us full circle back to standard 2.1 and standard 2.2. When you look at your course level objectives, more of them are more likely going to be at a higher level. Here I'm using Bloom's taxonomy. You can use any type of learning taxonomy to help look and decipher and analyze your objectives. Most of your course level objectives should be towards that higher level. If they're up there, then you're more likely to have module level objectives, and that's standard 2.2, in the lower levels. So that means there are smaller, discrete pieces that scaffold the students up to be able to perform and demonstrate mastery at those higher levels. An example here would be if I really want students to be able to analyze a variety of workplace technologies for best fit, that's my course level objectives. In one of my modules, I'm going to have them apply a current technology in a specific work-related problem as practice. And that would be the focus there so that then they can move up to the level to be able to analyze a variety of workplace technologies and a variety of work-related problems that the technology might solve. So you can see the smaller discrete piece is a scaffolding piece or a step towards up that course level objective. There's many ways to look at if your objectives are suited to and reflect the level of the course. These are just two strategies to approach standard 2.5. And that is the last standard. So now we're going to open things up to questions, and I'm going to turn things back over to Ryan.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about the Quality Plus program, you're welcome to pull out your mobile phone or other device if you have one with you as you're watching, and you can use the QR code on the right. That will take you to this slide, and I'll also put a link to it in the chat. The website that links to the Quality Plus page will let you know more about how the program is intended to increase faculty knowledge, skills, and abilities in online teaching, to help increase faculty knowledge, skills, and abilities in developing online courses, and to create quality online ISU courses. And if you want to learn more about the ITRC as a whole, you can go to the link I am putting in the chat, or the one that is also on your screen if you have a mobile device. And that will let you see this particular slide with clickable links. That will let you go to our Tiger Tracks articles. This is a huge set of instructions and guides of how to use different features of Moodle ISU, why you might want to use one thing over another thing, as well as just how to accomplish something once you already know what you want to accomplish. There's a link to our ITRC video library, so you can see recordings of webinars such as this one, as well as shorter ones that are more targeted to specific topics, and a few longer ones that are more in-depth. When you want to meet with us, please give us an email at itrc.isu.esu. You can call us at 208-282-5880. And for those of you who are on Pocatello campus or willing to drive to the Pocatello campus, you can go into the basement of Oboler Library because we're down in room B17. For the future Wednesday webinars, you can click on the link there to see the schedule. We also announced them in Idaho State Today, and make sure to put them on the ISU events calendar. So thank you again for joining us today. Next week, we will continue with our General Standards series. And next week, we're going to be focusing on General Standard 3, which is assessment and measurement. So thank you again for joining us today.